Okay.
Hello.
Oh, I gotta agree to you recording it.
Oh,
Hey.
you're good. Hey.
Hey.
I know this new
Hello.
recording feature. Like, is it?
Yes, they've done like an update to we record on Zoom
Yes.
and they've made some changes where you have to like agree to things like it being recorded and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, sure, we can pretend like we're being protected from being I guess at least I know that the person I'm talking to is recording me.
Right. Exactly. I joined a
Big brother.
Zoom. I joined a Zoom yesterday late, and there was like 60 or 70 people on it, and it was already being recorded. And they're like, "Just so you know, you're being recorded." So I was like, "Okay."
You didn't have to agree to it then?
I didn't have no, it just said like this meeting is being recorded. It was just like you had to click OK,
Oh,
but
you did.
it was just like telling you like FYI this meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yes. So how are
How are you
you?
doing? I'm good. I mean, I know you're still dealing with heat, but ours finally has improved. We were dealing with, 100. We had basically like 2 days of 100+ degree weather, and I don't have AC. Um, but, we managed to get through that all right and doing good. Now it's like 70 degrees, so it's uh interesting. But I know you're still dealing with the heat over there.
Yeah, I'm jealous of your 70-degree weather. It was like yesterday my car recorded 117 when I was driving, which I know it's always hotter on the pavement, but still. Yeah, 110 plus for a few days. Now it's like 100 and some. It's going to be in the mid to upper 90s for the next week, and I just
Mhm.
wish we could get a couple days to like let the house cool down a little bit because we don't have air conditioning. We just have one of those in-room AC, not like the window
Mhm.
ones, but just one that like sits in your living room or dining room, wherever.
Right.
So it helps a little bit, but it's just not enough when it's 110, 115 degrees outside.
I'll
So
tell you what, the spray bottle with a fan blowing does wonders. I actually like made Charlie cold with
oh,
that.
nice.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I made some like cooling spray with peppermint, and then
oh
we
yeah.
have those towels that you get wet and they stay cool. Those actually work pretty well. So I've been like wearing those on my shoulders, and
Mhm.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I learned
been a little warm.
I learned some tricks. Does it get cool at night? Because at least it did cool or like early in the morning. It'd be like the lowest temperature would be around 5 o'clock in the morning. So I was getting up early and like opening everything. Oh, and can I tell you, I also had the brainiac idea of trying to get the air circulating. I even opened my front door one night. It was like the last night that it was kind of hot. And next thing you know, I'm like, what is my feet and legs were getting eaten alive by
Oh
mosquitoes.
no.
I have like I have like 8 freaking bug bites all over my legs and feet. It was insane. I like killed these monster mosquitoes that I like one I like killed it and it like popped or something. There was blood. I was like,
Oh,
ugh.
gross. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're going towards the light, right? If you have lights on in your house and
I didn't have any lights on. I thought it was cool. And next thing you know, I'm like, these demon freaking mosquitoes came in and ate me. I was like, all right, I'm an idiot for leaving my door open. Let me go ahead and fix that problem.
oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Now I'm like
Yeah,
paranoid
no.
too. I feel like I feel them on my feet all the time and I'm like hitting myself throughout the
Gross. No, I woke up this morning and it was like 84.
nice.
So it looks like next week it's going to get into the mid 60s overnight, which is better.
It
So
makes a difference. So
yeah,
just
it makes a
my
difference. So we'll be opening the
uh
windows then.
literally as soon as I had to tell my mom because my mom doesn't have AC either and she's like dying over in her house. And I'm like, "Mom, don't leave your windows open all day." But I feel like I have to have air circulate. I'm like, all you're doing is letting 110-degree air in. Like it's not circulating.
I
I was
know,
like, so
right?
you gotta so anybody listening that wants a little tip, like when it cools down, if you're in a hot if your temperatures are hot and it cools down at night, like whenever it's cool, open everything up, have fans going, and then once it starts warming your house, you feel your house warming up, close everything.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the coldest your house is going to be all day.
Oh yeah. No, my mom's really good about that. Because my mom
Good.
lives near Jessica, and so she was keeping everything closed up. And the same thing, we have curtains, and we're just like keeping them closed because it just blares through the windows and just heats
Yep.
everything up. The sun
Yep.
rises in our window in the morning, and I went in there this morning because we were sleeping downstairs. I went into our bedroom, and it was just a furnace. I was like, oh my gosh, so hot. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my house just cooks in the afternoon.
yeah,
Yeah. And the air was just dead. It was crazy. It was just like literally walking into like a wall of heat when you go outside.
yeah.
It was ugh. And then like 2 days later I'm wearing sweats. I'm like, okay. Like
Do you have
so
anything you want to share, or do we want to jump into our topic?
I actually do.
Okay.
I'll try and be brief.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten into this or no heard about this sort of barefoot shoe movement?
Like those shoes with the finger
I know
toes,
that's what you think of, right? Because we all kind of know about
Vibrams or
those.
whatever. Yeah.
But no, there's a whole like rash of shoe brands out there that are like barefoot shoes.
Huh.
So basically, you know, our if you again going back to how we are naturally supposed to be,
Right.
we shouldn't be wearing these shoes that support our feet like they do, and all they're doing is making our feet weak and causing foot problems because we depend on these arch supports and things like that, and you actually make your muscles in your feet weaker and you have foot problems. Also, they keep you from, connecting with the earth when you're out walking around, so you're less grounded and things like that. So anyways, I walk barefoot like all the time as much as I can, especially through the pandemic. I like have hardly worn shoes at all. And now that I'm starting to get out more, my feet, all of a sudden my foot like was having a weird pain. It felt like I had a thorn stuck in the bottom of my foot, but there was nothing there. So I think I was starting to have some sort of like a foot issue from all of a sudden wearing shoes again. So I finally ordered myself some 2 different pairs of shoes that are like barefoot shoes. And I also had ordered Charlie a pair because I want for her too. So for her especially, this is the other thing about these types of shoes is the boxes of the shoes like squeeze your toes together. So it actually like deforms your foot.
Mm-hmm. So narrow, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so all these shoes tend to have like a more boxed wide toe, like a toe box, a wider toe box. So I got her a pair of like amphibious shoes so they can go in the water and stuff. And she's liked them so far. They're cool. So, and then I ordered myself a couple. So I was going to share really quick the brands that I bought from or that I found, but also a website you can go to find all kinds of these types of shoes. I mean, this is like I think she's like a blogger. So barefootshoefinder.com is the website that shares like all the different brands, and you can take a quiz to find out what kind of shoe brand might work for you and blah, blah, blah. And then I bought my one pair of my shoes, and the pair that I got Charlie are from Vivo Barefoot, Vivo, Vivo Barefoot. And then I also bought a pair. Well, so the other pair I was looking at was called Earth Runners. They're kind of cool. They're like this kind of dorky looking sandals. They're not totally dorky. They're kind of cool. But I'm trying to, anyways, they also have like a copper something on the bottom of them to help you ground better. So
That's
to
cool.
connect more. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't end up getting that brand though. What I ended up getting for sandals, they're called Good Earth sandals. And they're made in Hawaii. They're basically like leather, and then it comes as a kit and you put it together yourself. So you get the shoe bottom or the sandal bottom, and then you lace the leather strands through it, the leather wrappings or whatever, there's strings or whatever, and you tie them, and it comes with like a couple of semi-precious stone beads to go with it too. So it's super cool. I'm excited to get those. And it basically ends up forming to your foot. They look cool. I'll have to report back how they all are, but I'm excited for them.
We'll put the name of where you got them in the show notes too, the website information in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll have to remember to do that. What about you? You got anything to share?
Yeah, I want to share a new podcast. So I was kind of getting like, I don't know, bored with the podcast that I was listening to. I listened to maybe, I don't know, a dozen different podcasts, and I would go through them and I'm like, none of these episodes have been interesting to me.
Mhm.
Excuse me. The one podcast I consistently listen to is Joe Rogan's podcast. I really like long form podcasts. And he has had these people on his podcast before. Last year, we listened to his interview with Crystal and Sagar, and they used to have a show on The Hill. Well, they just recently went independent. They left The Hill and decided to go out on their own. Their podcast is called Breaking Points. And I really like them because it's more political. I swear I get all my news from them now. It's more political, but the
Mhm.
thing about them is that one is more left and one is more right. So Crystal is more liberal and Sagar is more conservative. And so you're getting two different viewpoints in this podcast from them. They both live and work in Washington, D.C. Sagar is I believe, first generation American. His family is Indian and they're from Texas. He's from Texas, and she has two kids, and they just make a really good team. They just jive really, really well. And I feel like I get more details and I actually am getting true news from what they're talking about versus what you really hear on the news, because they talked about something the other day, and I always call my mom because my mom still listens to mainstream media news, right? Like different
Mhm.
channels, local news, whatever. And so I'd be like, hey, have you heard this on the news recently? And she's like, nope, haven't heard it at all. And I was like, okay. So there's so many things that they don't talk about on the news that Crystal and Sagar are talking about on their podcast. And so I just really, really like them. I like their back and forth and whatnot. So it's called Breaking Points, and you can listen to them on all listening platforms. I subscribe to them on Apple Podcasts. So they're just really good. I just really like them. And they're, if you do listen to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, he interviewed them a few weeks ago, and then they actually interviewed him on their podcast too. So that was really
Oh,
cool to listen to.
that's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just a new podcast. I'm enjoying listening to them to get my actual true news from. So,
I'll have to check that out for sure.
yeah, definitely. All
Cool.
right.
So should we
So,
jump in?
yeah, today we're going to talk about toxins. And because it is our 10th episode, we decided
Woo.
to talk about 10 different ways that you are getting exposed to toxins or potentially getting exposed to toxins in your environment. So, different environmental toxins that a lot of times people don't think about, like, oh, I didn't think that I could be exposed to toxins in this way. And sometimes people think that maybe they could be, but they aren't exactly sure what some of those toxins are. So we're just going to give a list of 10 different ones, give a little bit of information on each of those. And yeah, that's it. Do you want to start with the first one we're talking about?
Sure. And I'll just say this is in no particular order at
Yes,
all.
no particular order.
But the first one on the list was cleaners. So household cleaners, basically. Um, and I know like this probably hits home with you a lot because of both of us do Young Living essential oils. So we use those for replacing some of our cleaners. I also just started using Branch, or Branch Basics. But our household cleaners have tons of chemicals in them. Your standard ones, even the ones that you might think are non-toxic, which drives me crazy. Called
Greenwashing.
Exactly. So a lot of them still have a lot of chemicals in them.
Yeah, I even shared something on my Instagram stories today. I talk a lot about greenwashing because there are a lot of brands out there that really do have people fooled. I would say Mrs. Meyer's is probably one of the biggest ones because their labels look pretty and they look natural and they look organic, but they are actually one of the most toxic. Some of their products are some of the most toxic ones out there as far as cleaning products go. And people don't realize that because they're not looking at the labels and looking up what the chemicals are that are in those cleaners. So there's a lot of different things in there, like suffocants, sulfates. What are some of the other things? Phthalates. Phthalates are in there, which are plastics. They have a lot of different toxins. And one way to always think about something that, as far as cleaners go, it'll have a label on there. It says like, do not ingest, don't come in contact with your eyes, call poison control. If, you come in contact with this and your kid eats it or drinks it or whatever, like that's how you know that there's toxic chemicals in there, because it's telling you like, you need to call poison control because you are poisoning your child, or yourself if you're, inhaling these or ingesting these some way. So.
Mhm. Yeah, and you might feel like these are relatively benign because you're cleaning surfaces with them and stuff, but at the end of the day, you're, like you said, you're inhaling these chemicals as they get in the air, which I feel like is probably even a bigger effect than it just being on the surfaces, because coming in contact with it, I just feel like when you're breathing something in, that's that really affects you, I feel like. But also coming in contact with your skin, we do absorb things through our skin. I mean, absolutely. I mean, our skin is not a barrier. It's an organ.
Yeah.
It's
our body's largest organ.
It is. And we know that we absorb things through our skin, and this because there's things like nicotine patches and birth control patches and things like that. So we know we absorb through the skin. There's no way to deny it. And so it's very important to also keep in mind anything you put on, which we'll get into more as we go down our list too.
And I always tell people, I'm like, your kids, especially if you have younger kids, they're crawling around on the floor. Your dog, if you have pets or dogs or cats, they could be licking something up off the floor, and then they're licking those chemicals into their body. You're constantly, coming in contact by touching them. And like Jessica said, we're absorbing those things. So even though it may seem trivial, it's really, really not, especially if you're somebody who's cleaning your house all the time, or consistently, at least. You're constantly spraying those, inhaling those and whatnot. I had a girlfriend one time who said, if it doesn't smell like bleach, I don't feel like it's clean. And I was like, oh, bleach is one of the worst. Like, bleach is so terrible to be inhaling and whatnot. So yeah, just
and one thing I want to
labels.
Yeah, read the labels. And also, I just want to throw out there, the reason that it's so important to get these toxins out of your life is they are carcinogenic. So we're talking about, causing cancer. They also are endocrine disrupting, so affecting your hormones. And then also our bodies just can only take so much of a toxic load. And then eventually you start having health crises and stuff. So it just builds up in your body, and all your body is going to be doing is working to try and get these toxins out. And it just eventually builds up and creates a really big problem.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. I don't know if it was last time or last episode or the episode before, but we talked about that. It's like your liver and your kidneys and your organs and your blood have to filter all of these toxins out, and eventually they'll become overloaded. And that's when things happen like cancer, and it's your body's response to, taking on all of these toxins. It's and it can be really frustrating. That's what I just want to say. It can be really frustrating too, because you feel like you're trying to do the best. A lot of people feel like they're trying to do the best job that they can, and you're doing your best to remove toxins, but it's like, man, that's just one more thing, and it's hard. We're just constantly being bombarded with toxins in everyday things nowadays. So.
Yeah. But with cleaners, there's a lot of options out there, and you don't have to. I did Branch Basics recently, which is kind of a costly upfront thing, but it actually, I think, ends up being pretty darn cheap. I reckon you can look into it. It's like a concentrate, and then they give you a bunch of bottles to be able to split it up for different uses, whether it's a bathroom cleaner or laundry detergent and things like that. And it's all mineral based.
Yeah. And I use Thieves household cleaner, and it comes concentrated as well. So you can get like 16 bottles out of it. So it amounts to less than like $1 per normal regular size spray bottle. So whereas you would go to the grocery store and pay $4 for a bottle of all-purpose cleaner, you can pay 75 cents. You pay, a little more up front, but in reality, it works out to about 75 cents to $1 per actual spray bottle and whatnot. And you can create different concentrations based on what you want. If you want just an all-purpose cleaner, or if you want something that's like a heavy degreasing cleaner, that sort of thing. So it's all based on concentrate. So it really lasts a long time, and it's way cheaper, and it's all plant-based. So
yeah, I've used Thieves as well, and I really like it. I wanted to try the Branch Basics. Also you can just simply do like vinegar and baking soda for almost anything too. You can find all kinds of recipes online. Okay, so I think we covered that one. What do we got for our second one?
Next one is laundry. So this gets back to our body being in contact with toxins all the time. You know, you wash your clothes in these soaps, you dry them with dryer sheets, and then they sit on those clothes, and then you put them on your bodies. Not only do you put them on your bodies, but they sit in your drawers, they hang in your closet. So they're off-gassing these chemicals in your home. So you're breathing in those chemicals from the laundry, and then you're putting them on your skin when you're wearing those clothes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even also like your sheets and stuff, you're sleeping in them.
Yeah.
And things like dryer sheets have all kinds of chemicals and like plastics. So very endocrine disrupting. Fragrances are very endocrine disrupting. I honestly, I can't even walk down a laundry detergent aisle at the grocery store. And I walk by people sometimes that are, I can't breathe around them. It's so bad, but you just kind of get immune to that smell when you're in it all day long, and you don't even realize how strong it is. And I just can't imagine what it's doing to them. I mean, you're inhaling this stuff too, and I'm just like, oh gosh, asthma, allergies, like I can't even breathe.
Yeah,
So
same. I can't walk down those aisles anymore. Once you remove the fragrances and whatnot from your life, you're really, really aware of them when you come in contact with them. So, and more sensitive to them. But yeah,
yep.
laundry, like Jessica was saying, dryer sheets, anytime you can search online, like most toxic products in your home, dryer sheets always come up as one of the most toxic products, because what it's doing is it's just putting those chemicals, it's keeping static down, right? Laundry sheets make your laundry smell good, and then it helps keep static down. And so what it's doing is just putting a chemical on your clothing to keep the static down.
It's
And
like
that
plastic, isn't it?
yeah, some
It's
sort of
basically like
plastic.
plastic.
Yeah, and what that's doing is then sitting on your skin and touching your skin as you wear your clothes. So things like triclosan are another one that are in there that are pretty bad for your endocrine system and whatnot. So
For sure. Yeah. Some alternatives you can think of?
dryer balls. So we use
Yeah.
plastic and wool dryer balls. The plastic ones really help keep the
Static.
static down. Had a brain fart there for a second. But I like wool dryer balls because you can put essential oils on them and you make your own scent. And so I like to just change up the scent that I put on my dryer balls. And another thing you can do actually is, I know a lot of people say, oh, wool dryer balls make my clothing really staticky and whatnot. You can just stick a safety pin in one of the wool dryer balls, and that will help reduce the static. So that's
That's
another
cool.
way to keep the static down when you're using wool dryer balls, but they will work to get your clothes just as clean and smelling nice without as strong of a scent and without the toxins.
That's actually, I use the dry. I went actually for a long time. I went without using anything.
Yeah.
Um, and now I use the dryer balls with essential oils on 'em. I really don't have an issue with static with them. I will say
Either.
I I do tend to find, or not so much anymore, but at least in the beginning, I was finding a lot of the fibers on my clothes for a while. And I think there might be a trick to it where you're supposed to wash the balls first
So
before
you
you
can
use
get
them
them,
for the first
you can
time.
get them wet. Yeah, a lot of people get them wet, and then they put their oils on the balls too, because other people have said, I've heard people say like, oh, they put the oils on dry and then they got spots on their clothes in the dryer,
Mm.
from the essential oils on the dryer balls. So what a lot of people do is they'll get the dryer balls wet and then add the oils onto them, and then it won't transfer over to their clothing. It'll just release the scent from the essential oils.
You can even do just like a wet, like take one of your rags wet and you can put essential oils on those and throw it in there just so that you have some sort of a scent and you can not do any wool balls. But again, you might have an issue with static with that.
And don't
Um,
let brands, like the other thing is, like, so many brands are targeted at babies and kids, like Dreft. And I was a Dreft mom when my daughter was little, almost 10 years ago. I used Dreft because it's pediatrician recommended, and they have the different age ranges. And I was like, oh, this is made for babies. It smells so good. It is terrible, terrible, terrible
yeah,
for you. Yes, it smells lovely with all those fragrances in there. But it has a lot of chemicals in there. It's not good for you. Tide is a bad offender, and there's a more greenwashing
terrible.
laundry too. There's even some. Mrs. Myers has laundry. There's even a Tide brand that looks like it's natural. It's trying to do that, cater to natural people, but it actually still has all the sodium lauryl sulfate in it, which is a washing agent, and things like that. So always read the labels. If it has like SLS, triclosan, phthalates, which is PTH, I believe, or PFTH, something like that. All those things. SLS is probably one of the biggest offenders when it comes to things like laundry soap and cleaners and hand soaps and whatnot.
SLS being sodium lauryl sulfate.
Yep.
Yeah. I use the Thieves detergent.
Yep, me too.
There's but there's a handful of other, I think, like, is it Evo or something like that? That's
Maybe
something. There's a few different brands out there that are pretty decent. Do a good Google search. I wish I had written down some.
Yeah,
I had
Google search. And if you go to like a more natural type grocery store, like in Jessica's area, there's one called Marlene's. In my area, there's a Natural Grocers, and I think Natural Grocers are nationwide. But if you go there too, there's a lot more natural laundry detergents that are plant-based that you can get.
Yeah, I mean, Marlene's even sells one that you can dispense out it. They do like a bulk version that you can get it through their dispenser. So yeah, there's options out there for sure. And if you get it unscented, like, you can add essential oils to it to make it fragrance too.
Yeah, or you can make your own. I used to make my own laundry detergent for a long time. So you just use borax, washing soda, and then I added some of the Thieves household cleaner to mine and other essential oils. So it's really easy to make your own laundry detergent. You can just search on Pinterest for homemade laundry detergent recipes, and that's another way to do it.
Have you ever tried soap nuts?
No, I've heard of them, but I have never tried them.
I haven't tried them either, but I've heard about them and been curious about them. So that's another thing you might look into, is soap nuts, which is another option. All right.
All right. The next one, cookware.
Cookware.
So
those
who uses Teflon pans? Who still uses Teflon pans, right?
Everybody does, and they're so bad for you. And even at that, like, I've even I started using the ceramic, but even those are questionable. Like, you have to look into those because they will be coated with something to make them non-stick still. But yeah, and even like your stainless steel, it's a lot better, but some of them are not the greatest quality and will have other metals in them that don't make them as good a quality. Cast iron's a good option.
Cast iron is the best option.
It's a great option. Or glass. Actually, my favorite is glass. And you know what? You can actually get like glass pots. I'd be freaked out to like try and boil some water in some glass, but I think you can actually do it. I think glass is probably the least toxic, because I've even seen that I've had someone that said with cast iron, we get enough iron in our life, believe it or not, even though people think that they're iron deficient. Like, there's actually a lot of iron that we can like have in our foods, and I'm trying to think where else we get iron from, but we really don't. We get additional iron from the cast iron pans, and it actually might be harmful. So I don't know, even cast iron's kind of a question mark, but I would say it's definitely better than Teflon, definitely better than your cheap metal pans and stuff.
I would choose cast iron over all those, because I mean, they've been using cast iron for hundreds of years. Little House on the Prairie days used cast iron pots and pans. So
or enamel. Enamel's good.
Stainless steel is still a better bet than something like Teflon, or what's that other coating that they put on?
No, I think so too. Well, especially like I said with the ceramic, they like have come up with this other sort of like polyurethane something. I don't know what it is, but some sort of coating to make it non-stick on some of them, and it's still the jury's out on whether or not that is truly non-toxic. So I don't know. I do have a ceramic pan. I kind of love it. I have cast iron. I love glass. So I do a lot, I bake a lot of foods and use glass.
Yeah, we only use glass baking dishes typically. And glass to store our foods too. So we don't use any
Yeah.
plastic storage containers, only use glass storage containers, because the plastic storage containers is full of phthalates, and a lot of people will food prep in plastic and then heat it in the microwave, and then you're heating up that
Mm,
plastic, it's leaching into your food. So make
so
sure
bad.
as you transition, and this isn't something you have to do all at one time, like slowly transition out of the plastic. Costco, I believe, if you have a Costco or Sam's Club membership, they carry a lot of different glass snapware. So it has a plastic lid on it. You just don't microwave that piece. You just take that off and put the glass in the microwave if you need to use something, or in the oven if you're cooking it in the oven or reheating in the oven. But even just putting like a hot piece of food, you cook some vegetables or you cook some meat and you're putting that warm piece of food into the Tupperware or plastic container, and then that's
Yep.
still heating up that plastic and absorbing it. So
Yeah, that's the worst. I mean, I would say as much as possible, avoid storing anything in plastic, but especially don't heat in plastic. Like
yes,
just
absolutely.
don't.
Yep.
Other thing I'll throw out there too is aluminum foil. Like just avoid aluminum foil for storage or cooking with. Aluminum is a neurotoxin, is strongly associated with Alzheimer's, and I would avoid aluminum products, aluminum cans, aluminum foil, all those things as much as possible.
Yep. All right, what's next?
Next, we got fragrance.
Everybody's favorite fragrance.
Oh man,
Favorite
I
one to
can't
talk
even wear
about.
it.
I love talking about fragrance.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. If we're talking just like, and fragrance can be like just about anything, beauty product wise, in detergents and things like that. But if we're talking just straight fragrance, like perfumes and stuff, I can't wear them.
No,
Again, kind of
absolutely.
just like with the laundry detergents, I can't breathe with it. I literally like get my eyes dry up. I can't breathe. I start like my nose starts dripping. Like.
And here's the thing about fragrance. Fragrance encompasses up to 3,000 different chemicals. So there are 3,000 different chemicals that can be used under the label of fragrance. And a company can just say fragrance, and it could be anything, and you have no clue what it is.
Yep.
It could even say natural fragrance, and that could still be maybe something that's an organic chemical or something. I don't really know, but natural fragrance is just as bad as fragrance. It's all the same. Or parfum. Parfum is another way. It's the same exact thing, just a different way to label it. But it is up to 3,000 different toxins, toxic chemicals that they get to label under there because it's proprietary information. And the government hasn't updated their guidelines for chemicals and toxins in the United States since like the 60s or 70s. And whereas we only ban 12 toxins right now, other countries like the UK ban 1,200 toxins, which still there's more out there, but that's way better than like the 12 that the US bans. So fragrance is literally one of the worst things. Think candles, think plugins, think shampoos, conditioners, lotions, cleaning chemicals, laundry, so all those things. All of those things usually have some sort of fragrance or perfume in them, and you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what your body is coming in contact with those things.
And thank you for bringing up candles. If it seems like such an innocuous thing, but candles are like the new cigarette smoke,
Yes.
It's just
Candles are the new cigarettes. They absolutely are 100%.
And same with air fresheners, but I just feel like candles, people don't. Well, I think both air fresheners and candles generally just seems like not a big deal, and you're just making your house smell yummy and stuff. But oh my gosh, they're so toxic. It's kind of an ongoing battle. When I take Charlie to Eric's house, I'll like walk in and like blow his candle out, and I still don't think he understands like why he shouldn't be burning those candles. I'm like, you know what? Go ahead and do it to yourself, but not Charlie.
And
But
it's
yeah.
one of those things where once you get them out of your home for a certain amount of time, people say 30 days, I say 60 to 90 days, because if you've been say you are 30 years old or 35-year-old person and you've been burning candles in your home, or your parents burned candles in their home, or had scented plugins, that's 35 years of exposure to those things. So it's going to take your body a long time to get those toxins out of your system. But once you do, I cannot walk into people's houses now that have a lot of candles or plugins or scented things. And it bothers me. It's just my eyes start to water, my nose starts to itch. I definitely have a major reaction to it. Whereas I used to be a candle lover. Oh man, Bath and Body Works candles are my favorite. And I would like buy 2, get 1 free, or buy 3, get 1 free. You know, they would always have those sales. And I would always like stock up on all my favorites during the different seasons and holidays and everything. And I would burn them constantly. And now I can't even go near them. Go near them.
No, I know my mom has these like things that she can hide in places that are air fresheners, and I'll walk in and I'm like, where is it? I cannot breathe right now. And she thinks I'm just being a pain in the ass, but I'm like, no, seriously, it's bothering me.
That's the thing. It's like until you're like, oh, whatever, Jessica, whatever, Tiffany. Seriously, until you get it out of your system, like you won't notice.
Yeah.
You
and then once you do, then you'll understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the things, they talk about the air in our homes being 10 times more toxic than the outside air. And depending on where you live, what city you live in, the air can be pretty toxic, but our homes can be even more toxic. And it can all be attributed to things like the dryer sheets, laundry detergents, cleaners, and candles, or other scented plug-in type things. So if you want a good smelling home, use essential oils. Get a diffuser, use essential oils, and they're so diverse and they last forever. They last like a super long time, so you can make your home smell just as good, and you can customize your own scents to make your home smell in different ways all the time. And it's just a fun way to make your home smell good.
For sure. Yeah.
And it cleanses the air. There's a lot of essential oils out there that actually cleanse the air. Things like
and boost your mood and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, boost your mood. They're good. There's so much more to essential oils than just making your home smell good. They actually have like properties that affect your body and your mind, and they get down to the cellular level, and can be good mood boosters, and can be good for cleaning the air, and so many other things that we could go on and on.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and this wasn't on our list, but I was just thinking about it on this topic of the air in your home. Something like paint. Things to think about too if you're ever like painting your home, letting those things air out, new carpet, new furniture, things like that have been treated with like chemicals so that they're not as flammable. This isn't on our list, maybe it should have been, but like fabrics and stuff like that, even like those the clothing, like pajamas, those fleece pajamas that you buy for your kids, they actually put chemicals on them so that they don't spontaneously combust. Like how many kids do you know that catch on fire all of a sudden because of their clothing? But so yeah, those chemicals are on those clothes. So something else to think about too.
Yeah. And that's the reason they always say wash before wear, because you got to wash all those chemicals off of the clothing before you wear them, because then you're just putting it on your skin. So at least they give that warning most of the time. That's nice. But that just goes to show you that even the manufacturers know that like you need to get these chemicals off before you put them on your body.
Yeah. I always wash the brand new clothes before wearing them. Yeah. Okay, so we can move on maybe?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So next we had like cosmetics and beauty products.
Oh, another good one. So one thing that's in a lot of different beauty products, whether that be cosmetics or shampoos and conditioners and lotions, is parabens. So parabens are things that are major endocrine disruptors, and they can be absorbed through the skin. Parabens have been linked to cancer. So and they're in all shampoos and conditioners and things like that to help kind of make things softer and suds up. SLS too. SLS is in a lot of shampoos because that's where you get your sudsing from the sodium lauryl sulfate. So that's another one that is an endocrine disruptor too, that's in a lot of different like shampoos and conditioners and stuff.
Yeah, so all the cosmetics, I know it feels like, oh, well, you're just washing your hair, it's in your hair for like a few seconds or what, but all this it absorbs into your skin. And it definitely has an impact.
Well, and there's a reason that your hair still smells like what you just washed it in,
Mhm.
right? Like you think you're washing it up, but then you smell your hair. My hair smells so good. So obviously those things are still staying on your hair and on
Yeah,
your head and whatnot. So
totally.
yeah.
Yep. And then, again, our skin absorbs what we put on it. So all of the lotions and creams and makeup and all those things that you're putting on your face. The rule of thumb, especially in like the GAPS world, the GAPS diet world, is don't put anything on your skin that you wouldn't eat.
Yep.
So you can literally hydrate your skin with like olive oil. You can do it with butter if you have like a good quality butter. I
Coconut
mean,
oil.
lard. I mean, tallow.
Jesse's
There's a lot
getting
of
really
tallow.
hippie on us right now, you
I'm very
guys.
hippie. Okay, full disclosure, I'm gonna go like full on hippie really quick. I have been washing my hair with eggs. I do eggs and apple cider vinegar or lemon juice, and that's what I washed my hair with. It's been great. Um, I don't know. Try it out if you want. But that's like I try to kind of weird people out sometimes, and I'll share these kinds of things that I do. But it's in the primal diet world where they wash the hair this way, and I was like, I'll try that. Maybe that'll work. Because I've been frustrated trying to find a good clean shampoo that actually works well. Um, and so, yeah, it's worked great for me. Some people do a no poo that like did not work out for me, or like do the baking soda with the apple cider vinegar rinse that did not work out well for me. Um,
No, I don't use eggs to wash my hair. I still use shampoo and conditioner to wash my hair, especially because I sweat all the time because I work out a lot. And I just need something that's not eggs to wash my hair. I do apple cider vinegar though as like a clarifier for like scalp. So it helps kind of get if you're a product user, I know there's a lot of people that are product users. By product, I mean hairspray or gel or some kind of styling cream or something on your hair, and you can get that buildup, or dry shampoo, right? You can get buildup on your scalp. And so apple cider vinegar is really good for getting any excess gunk that shampoo and conditioner don't get, or shampoo doesn't get off of your scalp. Apple cider vinegar is great for that. So great
it
for
actually works as
clarifying.
like a conditioner too.
Yeah.
So um, it's a good rinse.
Yeah.
Dilute it with some water, but it's a good rinse.
The
Um,
cosmetics.
Also,
Or what were you
well, I was
going to
going to
say?
mention really quick before we move on. I was going to say, because you mentioned dry shampoo. Another thing, you can make your own dry shampoo with arrowroot
Cornstarch
powder.
or arrowroot powder. Yeah.
Mhm. Um, I haven't made it before, so I don't know exactly how you make it, but you can find recipes online. There's other options out there to make a natural version.
Yeah. So I make my own dry shampoo. That was the
Beautiful.
last like toxic thing to go out of my house. Even though I don't use dry shampoo very much, I just had kept it around for a long time. And so I make my own, and I use cornstarch or arrowroot powder, a little bit of baking soda, essential oils, and then I use cocoa powder to tint it because I don't have blonde hair. So if you have blonder hair, you don't need a tinter to it. If you have darker hair like I do, you kind of just figure out the right amount of cocoa powder that you need to match your hair. And then I just store it in a glass mason jar, and then I just sprinkle it in and massage it in, and it works really, really well.
hmm
So
Same thing with like, it's really easy. I don't do this. I used to, but you can make your own deodorants. Deodorants are another thing that's really harmful. Generally, they typically have aluminum in them. Again, aluminum is a neurotoxin you really don't want to have in your bloodstream. But so you can make your own deodorant with like baking soda and arrowroot powder, essential oils, and some coconut oil, or just like lemon juice even you can use. But there's a lot of options out there for non-toxic deodorants. They're just a little bit pricier is all.
yeah,
I
we
use Schmidt's.
use
That's my favorite. You can get it
yeah
at
we use
Costco.
Schmidt's or the Native brand. We like Native. Schmidt's didn't work for me very well, so I
Mm.
use that.
I found
Um,
certain scents of Schmidt's work better than others. So I've found a couple that I really like.
yeah,
The yeah, I can't remember which ones. There's a yellow one and then like the charcoal one.
But you can get them at places like Target and Walmart and the grocery store and whatnot. So there are some good natural options at the regular stores that you can get them at. So, but as far as cosmetics go, they just came out with a study. I believe I shared it last week, testing different cosmetic brands. So different drugstore cosmetic brands. And it was alarming. I wish I had pulled that up in front of me. Bad podcasters. But it was talking about basically how a majority of the cosmetic brands, even the expensive brands that you buy over the counter, have huge amounts of toxins in them. So it was like 58% of like foundations, they had high levels of toxins in them, and they were they're PFAs, which are forever chemicals. So what forever chemicals are they come into your body, they disrupt your body, and then you flush them out in your waste, whether that's your waste or your urine, and they stay in your urine or your waste, and then they get absorbed into the water system. So that's what a forever chemical is. Basically, your body doesn't break it down, it just flushes it out. And then it goes into our groundwater and water waste systems and things like that. I think it was like 58% of foundations had it in there. Like 48% of eye makeup, so eyeshadow, mascara, that sort of thing. It wasn't overall for all of makeup products. It was like 48% or 42%. It was like had high levels of these forever chemicals in them. So when you think about that, not only are we disrupting our bodies, we are disrupting the downstream process, right? Same thing like birth control. They find birth control in our water systems and things like that because our bodies excrete them, the chemicals from birth control pills, and then it gets put into our water systems and things like that. So that was a big alarming thing for me as far as making sure that I'm sharing with people more about natural makeup products that you can use, because there's enough toxins in our environment that our poor animals are having to deal with and then getting put into our water systems and whatnot. So
yeah, cosmetics are bad. I almost never wear makeup. And that's just kind of me anyways, but also on top of it for the reasons of avoiding any toxins. Because I think even the non-toxic versions still have some in there. You just can't, it's really hard to make a makeup without something in it to work really well. But yeah, mineral based generally is a lot better. And then I also like the anti-aging products out there. Those are just loaded with stuff. And it really just gives the illusion of anti-aging, but in the long run, they're causing more damage. So again, I try to stick to things that you would actually, eat to put on your skin, but also, there's things like jojoba oil, trying to think of rosehip seed oil, things like that you can use on your skin, and you can put essential oils in them too. There's some great essential oils for your skin as well.
And I think as far as cosmetics go, I know a lot of the times people will be in the mindset like, oh, if it's natural, it's not going to work as well as something that you might buy at the drugstore or at the beauty store or whatever. But I promise you, they work just as well. Like, companies are really good at making those natural products work well. The only two brands I would ever use are Beauty Counter or Young Living Savvy Minerals makeup. Beauty Counter, I think, bans over 1,300 or 1,400 different chemicals and toxins in their products. Young Living Savvy Minerals, they ban over 2,300 different toxins in their makeup. So those are the only two brands that I would ever use as far as makeup goes. I even buy it for my daughter, even though she doesn't really wear makeup. She just likes to play with it. I don't really care if it costs me a little more money. I don't want her putting that stuff on her body. Our kids' skin is more permeable than our skin is, so it absorbs more than our skin does as adults. And so if we're just putting that crappy kid makeup, buy the cheap kid makeup off Amazon,
cringe.
then they're just absorbing that into their skin even faster. So like I said, the only two makeup companies I would ever buy from are Beauty Counter and Young Living Savvy Minerals. So they definitely do the best job in the industry as far as banning toxins out of their products.
Awesome. Yeah. I have a couple of products from Savvy Minerals, but I just honestly, I've had makeup for like I had the same makeup for like 20 years. I never wear anything. That's not totally true, but it's kind of true.
Yeah. All right. Next, oral care.
Oral care. So this kind of goes with the whole cosmetics and beauty, kind of transitions right into it. But you know, I know we all think that fluoride is good for your teeth, but it's not. It's a neurotoxin. It is basically, we've been fooled into thinking this because they were trying to find something to do with this byproduct from some sort of chemical processing that had all this fluoride left over. And so they decided to add it to our water and use it for oral care. And there's really, really, it's actually more harmful than it is good. A lot of people end up with fluorosis and actually damaging their teeth because of too much fluoride. And again, like I said, it's a neurotoxin. It's actually linked to lower IQ. So terrible. And then also our toothpaste. I mean, I think of like kid toothpaste, especially where they like add glitter to it and scent it all like nasty strawberries and blue raspberry. And I don't understand. Like, it's awful. But then also adding all these things to sweeten them, and I mean, just look at the ingredients on them. They're chock full of stuff, and you're putting it in your mouth. Yeah, you spit it out, but you're still gonna consume some of it, and your mouth is gonna absorb it. You're also over sterilizing your mouth too. We do have a microbiome in our mouth too. So all of the mouth rinses and things like that, where you're putting alcohol in your mouth and just killing everything in it, you're killing off all the good bacteria in there that's in there doing its job to try and keep your mouth healthy and clean on its own. So again, I personally, what I use is just, I do oil pulling with like coconut oil or olive oil, which oil pulling is just, you stick like a spoonful of coconut oil in your mouth, swish it around for 10 to 15 minutes and spit it out. And it's going to pull all the toxins out of your mouth, and it'll feel nice and clean too. I also will just brush with like some olive oil and dip it in some baking soda. I use earth paste on occasion. Activated charcoal is great for whitening. What do you have to say about oral care?
Yeah, there have been some more studies, I'd say, over the last 6 months or so that are coming out to talk about the hazards of fluoride, which is great that it is getting more widely recognized. And it's been something that we've been talking about for a long time. We went fluoride free many years ago, but it is getting more talked about. It's getting more coverage in the health and wellness world.
Credibility.
More credibility, just the fact of how toxic fluoride is. So the first thing you can do, if you want the easiest thing possible to do, is start with fluoride-free toothpaste, especially for your kids. There's a reason that they make a lot of like most baby toothpaste are fluoride-free, right? Because babies can swallow it. So that has to tell you something right there. They already know that babies are going to be swallowing this toothpaste. And so they say it's fluoride free because they don't want them absorbing or swallowing that toothpaste and digesting that toothpaste, or digesting that fluoride, excuse me. So there's your first hint right there to know that fluoride is toxic, because they don't want babies to swallow it. So just go fluoride free as best you can. Like Jessica said, the activated charcoal earth paste. We use, like I said, we're big Young Living people, so we use the Young Living Kid Sense toothpaste. We go to a holistic dentist, and they actually have just discovered that xylitol is actually a really good way to clean your teeth, believe it or not. So there are some toothpastes out there that they use xylitol to give it its flavor or its sweetness, because I know a lot of people prefer a toothpaste with a little bit of sweetness, but they have a whole xylitol system there, which was really cool. The other thing I will say is, now I lost my train of thought. Oh, you can use, if you want another natural way to whiten your teeth, orange essential oil is a natural tooth whitener, and citrus essential oils are made from the rind of the fruit. They're not made from the juice, so they're not acidic and they will not break down your enamel. So orange oil is a great natural tooth whitening. I know what I was going to say earlier. So when we started, I had this one dentist, and he was trying to, I have had soft teeth, and so I would grind pits in my teeth when I was a kid, so I had to get fillings in almost all my teeth for the pits so that I didn't get actual cavities. And he would go through and be like, oh, we need to replace this, we need to replace this, we need to replace this cavity. And I went to a new dentist. I stopped using fluoride and started using a new toothpaste without fluoride in it, and my teeth have never been better. I haven't had to get a single filling. Even teeth that they've had watches on because the fillings are old, they're like, no, your teeth look great. My oral health has never been better as to when I switched out toxic grocery store toothpaste, things like Crest and whatnot, and went to like more natural fluoride free toothpaste. So same thing with my kids, no cavities, great oral health. And so it makes a huge difference just really looking into things and different ways to, like Jessica said, do oil pulling and naturally clean your mouth, because we do have a lot of good bacteria in so.
Well, and I will also say, believe it or not, your oral health, like things like cavities, have a lot more to do with your diet than you would ever. People can actually heal their cavities. There's a great book out there called Cure Tooth Decay by Nigel somebody, I can't remember. But it covers, it's based on the work of Dr. Weston A. Price, who is a dentist that traveled the world, studying indigenous tribes and their oral health and connecting it with their diets. So really, if you can remineralize your teeth through diet, having a very nutrient-dense diet, he found that the nutrient that he called like factor X, I think it was a huge contributor. And I can't remember, I want to say it's like a B vitamin or something now. But it's something that he found. Cod liver oil is great for oral health, and then getting good balanced minerals in your diet and things like that. So something to look into. I definitely recommend that book if you have oral health issues.
We'll put that in the show notes too.
All right. I have a busy show notes out of this one.
Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is lawn and yard care. So if you watch here's my assumption once again, I don't watch the news, so I don't know if they're talking about all the things going on with Monsanto or not in mainstream media. But if they are, good. If they're not, you really should look up all the things that are going on with Monsanto and Roundup and all of the lawsuits that are happening and all of the emails that are coming out about how they knew all along that these glyphosate, which is in Roundup and other weed killers, was really causing harm to people. It was causing major issues, and they knew. I mean, there's emails saying, man, if you can get this thing passed, you're a genius and you deserve to be the head of the country or something like that, to that effect. Anyways, basically saying like, yes, we knew that there was that glyphosate caused all of these issues, and we still made the conscious decision to put it into our products. So,
yeah, they lost like a huge lawsuit, right?
Yeah, like billions of dollars, and there's more lawsuits coming. I mean, it's real bad right now, and it shocks me when I go to stores like Home Depot or Lowe's and I still see Roundup being sold. I don't know how. I mean, at some point, I'm assuming it has to get pulled, or it has to change the formula to remove at least glyphosate from it. But people I know still use it on their lawns all the time because it's a great weed killer. But you're just, once again, spraying all of these toxic chemicals on your yard. It's seeping into the groundwater and going into our waterways, and then your kids are going out there and playing in that yard. There's just so many things. Your lawn and yard care is a really a big area where people want their yards to look nice, so they spray a bunch of stuff on it to make it look green or to kill weeds. And a lot of times it's just a bunch of chemicals, toxic chemicals. Everything's a chemical. Toxic
chemicals.
Yeah,
highly carcinogenic. Just a terrible, like I said, they are under they just lost a huge lawsuit. I agree. I don't understand how the products are still out there. So bad for you. And how people, I don't know how to get the message out to everybody to avoid these products. And yeah, I come across this, I have this battle with my mom. She again laughs at me because I'm like, all right, well, I won't be stepping on your lawn for the next month because you just put fertilizer down.
Mhm.
Jess, you know, it's like, okay, well, and I was really, really disturbed when I went to the local park here and found that I just happened to notice in the grass there was a bunch of fertilizer on it. Not a sign anywhere letting people know that the grass is fertilized and people are just sitting in it. And these things are harmful, and to not even have a sign up letting you know it's there um, just really disturbed me. But yeah, these things are going into our waterways. We are stepping on them and bringing them into our home. And you know, I'm not a master gardener by any means, but there's got to be some better options out there. For a lot of it has to do with your soil health. If you want to have less weeds and things like that, a lot of the weeds are really just trying to balance the soil health.
Yep.
So if you have healthy soil, then you won't have so many weeds.
Yeah,
Um,
agree. And there's natural ways to get rid of weeds. I'm still trying to get the formula right, but the only reason I will buy Dawn dish soap or any other kind of dish soap is to
mhm.
kill the weeds. So dish soap, and vinegar and water. So those are the three things that I have been trying to get the right formula down to kill weeds. But I just mix it up in a spray bottle and spray it on the weeds. It helps kill them. Or if you let honestly, the other thing I found is our yard is so big, and the lady that lived here before was a master gardener, and so it's beautiful, but there's so many plants that it's hard to get to the weeds. I've just let them get big, and the bigger they are, the easier it is to pull them out.
Oh,
So there's a lot of grasses. So the grass is growing up in the flower beds, and the longer the grass is, the easier it has been for me to pull it out. Get the ground a little bit wet,
right.
run your sprinkler, get the ground a little bit wet, and the weeds will come out easier. Just pulling the weeds instead of just spraying them is the best thing that you can do to keep your lawn looking good and to keep the chemicals out of it.
The other thing too is, you know, so like the whole pesticide thing. One, I just, before I forget to say it, I want to say like the whole glyphosate and the pesticides and stuff, and GMOs, which now GMOs have been grown to be able to withstand being sprayed with these chemicals,
Yep.
so that the bugs are killed, but the plants don't die. So now you have just foods that are coated, and we'll get into this when we talk about foods probably, but basically when we consume these things, these products go into our body. And well, if they're killing the bugs, what do you think's happening to your gut when these chemicals go into your gut? Like, it's just destroying your gut and your microbiome. Um, so I think that is a huge factor in like food sensitivities and things like that. But you know, if you have an issue with bugs, say like if you have a garden or whatever that you're growing and you have you want to manage the bugs and stuff, there's natural ways of dealing with that too. There's things like diatomaceous earth. I've heard that like marigolds will keep certain like slugs away or something like that.
Yeah,
So if
there's
you do like
different.
a perimeter of marigolds or something.
Yeah, marigolds, there's different plants like peppermint will keep other bugs away from certain vegetables. If you have to have a vegetable garden, doing companion planting and then planting other herbs and things, there are ones out there that will kill or keep other pests away. Things like cinnamon oil is actually really good for keeping pests away. So my neighbor, she knows we're more natural, so she found like a natural spray or weed killer that just uses essential oils at Fred Meyer, which is Kroger, if you don't live in the Washington area, a Kroger brand store, that will kill, weeds and stuff like that in your yard just by using different essential oils. So there are products out there that are a little more natural. I just keep pulling weeds. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it to me to keep the chemicals out of our yard because my kids love being outside barefoot, which is really good, as we talked about earlier, grounding with the earth. So
Well, and I will also say, like, I understand too that just the healthier, again, it kind of comes back to that soil health, because the healthier your plants are, the less that they will be infested with bugs and stuff. Because especially things with like berries and fruits, as an example, my understanding is when you have like a really good fruit, it's actually too sweet for the bugs. If it is grown really healthily. It has too much flavor, so they actually won't eat it if it's a healthy fruit or vegetable. These bugs are actually kind of like cleanup crews, so they're really going to go for more like damaged things or unhealthy things. If what you're growing is healthy, then it won't get infected with bugs. So take care of that soil.
Yep. And we're growing a vegetable garden this year because my kids wanted to, and my knock on wood, my produce looks amazing. I have tons of lettuce growing, and it is not getting eaten by anything. Our peas look great. Like, it looks really good. I have no bug infestations or anything. So yeah, soil health is huge. So, all right, the next one is water, and we are going to devote a whole episode to water. But Jess, if you want to just quickly touch on water real quick.
Yeah, water's really big. Just don't drink tap water, please. Unless you are blessed to have really clean water that maybe comes from like a geyser or something like that.
Or a really good water filtration system.
Yeah.
What's that
But
one you
even
stick in
then,
the fridge? What's the Brita? Not a Brita. A Brita is
not a
not going to
Brita.
do it for you. That's not going to cut it.
No. I use a zero filter, but the problem is a lot of these like really good filters, they actually don't put the minerals back in that get filtered out, because you can't have just water. Water is never just water. There's always some minerals in it and stuff that actually what do I want to say? Structure it. And so you can't just have, if you actually have just plain water, it will actually leach minerals from like your bones and stuff to balance it out. But get a good water filter, do some research on that. If you can, try and get spring water, like true fresh spring water.
Well, I read
Also,
something the other day that's even spring water was starting to get contaminated. So I need to look into that a little bit more. They
yeah,
said
it's
filtered
hard.
water was better, but I don't know. You can buy a structured water filter system, home structured water filter system. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the water podcast we're going to do. But my husband's best friend put a structured water system in his house that does exactly what Jessica was just saying. It structures your water. So filters all the crap out, puts the minerals back in that you need. So
Amazing. I'll also throw out there, I have stopped drinking water, so we can talk about that in our water episode
I
too.
know. She's insane. I'm sitting here coughing and sweating my face off, drinking water, and she stopped drinking water. But she drinks
Yeah, I
milk.
made
I
it
don't
through.
drink milk.
I eat raw eggs and drink milk. Yeah, I went through the 100-degree days without water just fine.
You're crazy.
But this isn't limited to drinking water either. We're talking about water that you shower and bathe in, all that. It's all important because again, your skin absorbs. So all the stuff that's in our water now, fluoride and other chemicals to sanitize it, just very
Chlorine.
harmful.
It's
I literally can't stand the smell
Once
of
a town
tap
hits
water.
a population of 8,000 people, they're required to put chlorine in their water. So my in-laws live in a small town, smallish. It was small, and they had under 8,000 people, and they had some of the best water in the entire state. And then they hit that 8,000 mark, and they had to put chlorine in their water. And no, you can totally tell the difference. So if you want to know what your city water rating is or your county water rating, you can go to just search for the EWG water rating. You'll type in your zip code, and it will tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 excuse me, what your water rating is and what the most the big chemicals that get into your water system. So like where my mom lives and where Jessica lives, theirs is like an 8 or 9 out of 10, which is bad, but 10 is bad. And it's things like chloroform, which is the one that shocked me the most, because there is chloroform in the water there, which I just could not believe. So there's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of pretty toxic things in our tap water. And like Jessica said, it's not just that you're drinking it, you're bathing it. So then it gets steamy and then you're breathing it in and whatnot. So water is a whole big thing.
Yep.
So we'll move on
from that. Yep. So next we have food. Again, we'll kind of go high level on this.
Yeah, there's multiple ways we could talk about this, but try to buy things that say non-GMO if you buy packaged, and then organic if you're buying produce. And if you can only buy a certain thing, if you only have a certain amount of money to buy a certain certain foods organic. You can't afford to buy everything organic. Search for the Dirty Dozen. Google search or DuckDuckGo search the Dirty Dozen and buy those organic, because it makes a huge difference. But if it's not labeled non-GMO, just assume it is a GMO food now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember,
Yeah.
was it 10 years ago? I was like, there's no way that GMO food is going to become the norm. There's no way. And now it is. And now they have to label things as non-GMO for you to know that it's not genetically modified food.
And unfortunately, somehow people have been convinced or duped into thinking that it's completely harmless and actually a good thing to have GMO foods out there. But again, like I said, on even just the one piece of it, of just our produce being GMO so that it can tolerate the spraying of chemicals, is one form of a GMO crop, and that's a lot of the grains. They do a lot of GMO grains to be able to withstand spraying of glyphosate on it.
Corn,
yeah. And again, the Dirty Dozen. So the website that Tiffany mentioned just a minute ago, EWG, that is kind of for all of these things we're talking about. That's kind of your go-to website to cover. You can look up pretty much any product out there and it'll give a rating of toxicity. So again, the Dirty Dozen is listed on the EWG website. I know a handful of the things on the Dirty Dozen, things like strawberries, apples, spinach. But yeah, it lists like the top 12 produce out there that you want to buy organic because they are heavily treated with chemicals. There's also a clean 15, which are the ones that are generally safe, like really safe to buy non-organic. And I know asparagus is on that. I'm trying to think of any others, but I buy everything organic.
We buy everything
as long
organic.
as I can.
Yeah. And the other thing is really when you think about it, Jessica's talking about that they've made this GMO food so that it can withstand the spraying of the crops. And the reason that they spray the crops is to kill the bugs and the pests and whatever that is growing in the soil. The whole reason that soil is rich and nutritious is because of those bugs, because of the worms, and because of all the bugs that are in the soil. Healthy soil is full of living organisms. It is. It's a huge ecosystem. And we'll probably do a podcast on regenerative agriculture, which is my passion. But it's a living ecosystem, and we need that ecosystem. We need those organisms in order to have a healthy environment to grow more crops. The more they kill that ecosystem, the more they have to spray in order to get the stuff to even grow. And that's why they talk about we only have now at this point 59 growing seasons left before we are going to have no usable soil in America, in our farmlands.
Destroying it. Yeah.
We're just destroying it. We're going to have another dust bowl. So, which we're learning about my daughter's history.
Yeah. That's an interesting time.
Yes.
Okay, so we can move on from that because we talk a lot about food and stuff, and we will some more in other episodes as well. So we'll finish off with EMFs. I know you have a lot of
hot topic. I know some people are going to say we're conspiracy theorists for talking
right,
about EMFs, but I can attest to it actually being something that physically does affect your body. So,
and I will challenge people to test it for themselves. If you have sleep disturbances, if you have a hard time sleeping through the night, just try turning off your Wi-Fi at night and see if it makes a difference. And limiting your phone use throughout the day. Take off what you did, which was your Apple Watch was a huge thing for you, right?
Yeah, I wore my Apple, and I didn't wear it to bed, but I wore it during the day. And I started getting headaches, and I never had headaches. And every day I was having a headache. I couldn't figure out why. We started looking into EMF stuff more. And I finally, when 5G was rolling out, and I finally was like, I'm going to take it off and see if it does it. And it did. Taking my Apple Watch off and not wearing that anymore completely got rid of my headaches. So same thing goes with earbuds. If you're wearing earbuds all the time, if you are constantly have your Wi-Fi on in your house, I know that it's hard to fully avoid it now because there are cell towers around us and all these different things and whatnot. Sorry for the texting beeping I'm getting over here. But we can do the best we can. So like Jessica said, turn off your Wi-Fi at night. or just have like Wi-Fi. I know a lot of a couple more bigger wellness podcasters that I follow, like Ben Greenfield. They only have hardwired internet at their house. They don't have Wi-Fi in their house.
Ideal. Yeah.
And then you can get things to help block the EMF. So we have something that's called a Somavedic. And that we got that when we started traveling, because a lot of different campgrounds have cell towers. Like every few spaces, there's like a Wi-Fi tower right by your campsite. And so we were noticing my husband was having a really hard time sleeping. And so that Somavedic, there's a couple different ones, but Somavedic is the one we have. Basically, you plug it in and it helps block the EMF radiation in like a certain amount of space in your home. So, but yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of things you can do if you feel like you might be having um, issues with your sleep or headaches or things like that. Just try it. You know, it's
Or
not going to.
what I notice for myself with like cell phone usage and stuff, which is a lot of the reason why I'm really starting to not use my cell phone so as much or trying to avoid it, is I feel like it disrupts my blood sugar levels.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, and also I don't know, I feel weird with my phone sometimes using it. I actually like my eyes start to really feel weird, and that might just be the visual aspect of it, maybe not the EMF exposure. But I do feel like I have like blood sugar issues with electronics. Um, I've been turning off my Wi-Fi at night. I can't really say that it's made a noticeable difference, but I also have probably a bunch of Wi-Fi networks around me anyways. So I would love to invest in an EMF blocker eventually. But I would not recommend wearing a smartwatch or anything like that where it's constantly. So we are energy. We we are uh we have metals in our body, we have minerals, and everything is energy and energetically connected, and things like Wi-Fi, microwaves, things like that definitely affect your physiology. There's just no way to deny it. It's just to what level is it affecting us? We just don't really know. I would avoid using wireless earbuds. Try and use things wired as much as possible. Um, I am really bothered. I finally I don't know why. I just decided to look at my meter outside, and it is a smart meter. So those have been linked to like cancer and things like that. Also, I think my meter had like issues with catching on fire, and when I was like trying to read about it. Anyways, side topic.
Trust it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna trust it. But these are things to really look into in limiting the amount of exposure you have to um, uh, EMFs and stuff, and also go out and get grounded. There was a documentary called, it was either Earthing or Grounding, that talked about grounding. So that is a great way to sort of disconnect from all the EMFs around you and stuff, is to get your feet on to the ground. So that's another thing.
And here's the thing. All the people who are listening to this right now who are smartwatch people, I know what you're thinking because I was there. I had a streak of 375 days of closing all my rings on my Apple Watch. So I completely understand the whole need to close your rings. Like I get that. But it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And what I can say is if you feel like you need to wear it for something, just wear it while you're exercising. Like if you want some way, like you're running and you want to track your mileage, or you want to track your calorie burn, or you want to track something with your smartwatch, just wear it when you're exercising and then take it off and don't use it other times. At least you're limiting your exposure that way. That's what my husband does now. He just wears his to exercise. I have worn mine a few times since then on runs when I didn't really know where I was going and I didn't know how far I was going. I have worn it a few times on different runs just to track my mileage. So if you do feel like you can't give it up, especially because they're not cheap, just wear it for exercise, and then just know that you need to be moving your body. That's just a conscious effort, right? To be up and moving and that sort of thing. So it might take a little bit more mindfulness, but really like getting any amount of exercise in the day is going to be good for you, So.
And I also feel like I don't know any research to back this, but I do feel like because we are energy and these things, EMF is going to affect us on that energy level. I really feel like it's contributing to anxiety.
Agree.
So again, and that kind of ties in with the sleep disturbances too. If it's creating anxiety, you're not going to sleep well. So I really, really challenge you to try and limit that exposure and just see if it makes a difference for you.
And if you want a book on EMF, you think we're full of crap and you want to learn from an expert, Dr. Mercola wrote a book called EMF'd,
Oh,
EMF
great.
apostrophe D. So you can get
Mm-hmm.
that on Amazon. We will link that in the show notes as well. But he wrote a book, I believe it was last year he wrote it. It might have been
Mm-hmm.
late 2019, but I think it was last year. Just talking about EMF exposure and whatnot. And if you aren't familiar with Dr. Mercola, he used to be a regular MD. So he was a board certified medical doctor and then transitioned over to more naturopath when he got disillusioned with the medical system. So,
Yep.
yeah, so that was a good resource as well. All right. I think that's it. Those are our 10 things: cleaners, laundry, cookware, fragrance, cosmetics and beauty products, oral care, lawn and yard care, water, food, and EMF. Man, that sounds like a lot of shit we're exposed to all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's not even all of it for sure,
No.
but these are some good places to start. And like Tiffany said earlier, like this doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to go and like throw your whole house away and start from scratch, but just where you can start making these changes gradually. You know, if you run out of your cleaner, instead of buying what you usually do, look into something different. You know, if your pans are getting worn out, and I will say like pans, we didn't talk about this, but that Teflon, if it's all scratched up and stuff, it is even more dangerous for you to be using. So if it's scratched up, ditch it. And get some better quality pans for yourself. But yeah, just, you know, as things come up, just start making the changes, or on these things like fragrances and EMFs, just stop using them for the 30, 60 days or whatever, and see what makes a difference and really pay attention to that. Any
Right.
final thoughts from you?
No, I think that was a good summary. Like Jessica said, it's not an overnight thing, and don't feel overwhelmed by it. But I hope that you do take some time to research and look into some of these things. And even like I said, do a DuckDuckGo or Google search. I use DuckDuckGo. You do a DuckDuckGo search of, you know, top 10 toxins in your home, and it'll pull up a list of different chemicals. And then when you're reading labels at the store, you can see if any of those chemicals are in there. So, and just do your best. You know, a lot more companies are getting on board with the natural products. And so I'm seeing more and more come out all the time, and they're doing, you know, making small changes, and they're just getting better all the time. So, yeah.
Yep, you vote with your dollar. Make the changes by buying the clean stuff.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We appreciate you joining us. Like
Mm-hmm.
we said on our last episode and every episode before, please leave us a review. Subscribe to the podcast. What else do I say? Subscribe to this.
I don't know.
We're recording late. Subscribe to the podcast, share with your family and friends. You can find me, Tiffany, on Instagram at tiffany.hubner. My website is afitmomslifeblog.com, and you can find Jessica at
On Instagram as Real Food Revolutionary, and my website is realishrevolution.com.
and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.